So hi, Greg.
Michael.
Hi. Can you introduce yourself to our audience?
I'm Greg Scarlatti. I'm the president and CEO of the Washington, D.C.-based U.S. Committee for Human Rights in North Korea, Hrnk. This is America's only organization tasked exclusively to investigate and report on the North Korean human rights situation. We have been around since 2001 for almost 24 years now.
Hrnk.
Hrnk, indeed. Yes.
So what made you interested in working for North Korean human rights issue?
It is a very personal matter. I am a naturalized American. I was born and raised in communist Romania under the regime of Nicolae Ceausescu, who was Kim Il-sung's friend. Romania was the one country that was most similar to North Korea during the days of the Cold War. Ceausescu.
I thought you can't be worse than North Korea, but
I don't know if it was better or worse. It was just bad, really bad. In December 1989, during the anti-communist revolution that brought down the Ceausescu regime, I was a freshman at Bucharest University, English language and literature major. I was in the midst of it. I was in the streets like other young people. The regime fell. The country opened up. I had never been outside the country. Again, this is a very close country, very close society. I took exams for scholarships overseas, and I wrote one of my essays on the Hrnk,
the South Korean economic
miracle, the Han River miracle.
It is a miracle, yeah.
Romania's had relations with the North Koreans since 1949. They established relations with South Korea in March 1990.
Way later.
Yes, the Romanian Minister of Education gave my exam paper and the essay to the newly established South Korean embassy, and they offered me a scholarship to become the first Romanian ever to study in South Korea on a South Korean government scholarship. 대한민국 국비장학생. Yes.
Wow.
So I did. So I did 1 year of language training. Then my 학사 and 석사 at 외교학과, the Department of International Relations at Seoul National University. I worked there in media broadcasting for a few years. Then I came here, went to the Fletcher School, and I've been working in D.C. since 2002 for 23 years. So why? Why North Korean human rights? It's a very personal matter. I was born and raised in the one country in Eastern Europe that was most similar to Kim Il-sung's North Korea. Then, while studying, working, living in South Korea, I spent a decade on a divided Korean peninsula. To me, it is a very personal matter.
Yeah. What did you learn while you were in South Korea? What made South Korea such an economic power and North Korea just people suffering from poverty? It's just a horrendous, it's like one extreme to another. And other than the human rights issue, why do you think these two countries became so different?
What made the difference in South Korea was capitalism, democracy, and the alliance with the United States. It's as simple as that. All Koreans are very entrepreneurial. Yeah. There has been a Taedonggan의 기적 as well, a miracle on the Taedong River in North Korea. What is that miracle? The people surviving despite their regime, despite the Kim family regime, despite their leadership. They're entrepreneurial. All they need is opportunity. Just give them the opportunity to work. Give them a market economy. Give them capitalism. Give them private property. So this is what made the difference in South Korea. Of course, South Korean values, family, hard work, work ethic, Korean innovation. Remember, Korea is the country of the Kabuksun, the world's first ironclad ship, the first printing machine, movable printing machine.
We really know your Korean history.
Well, yes. And the phones we're using, this is a Korean design.
Exactly.
We used to have the clam design. Remember, this is LG chocolate.
No.
It's a global thing, right? And so many other things when it comes to process in the shipbuilding in Korea. South Korea is now the top shipbuilder in the world again. There is so much amazing Korean innovation. Of course, the alliance with the United States helped tremendously because South Korea was under the U.S. security umbrella. And also, during the early days of the Han River miracle, as South Korea was nurturing its nascent industries that became global powerhouses later on, US markets were wide open.
Yeah.
So this alliance, friendship, and partnership with the United States has helped South Korea tremendously. And of course, full credit must go to the people of South Korea who have worked so hard to create this miracle.
So you must know what's going on right now in South Korea with the impeachment of President Yoon, and a lot of Koreans, I think, do seem to be a little bit more pro-China, pro-North Korea than our previous generations. What do you think? Do you think we should be worried about this tendency that they're becoming more pro-China? I see a lot, even among the second generation Korean American kids here in the States. A lot of them have turned, not a lot, but some of them have turned into communism, and some of them are saying, look at China, they are economically doing better than previous years. What's your assessment about all of this?
China is a huge country with a huge population. China is Korea's neighbor. It has been Korea's neighbor for thousands of years. Korea needs to counterbalance China. This is extraordinarily perilous, extraordinarily dangerous. South Korea needs the friendship, alliance, and partnership with the United States in order to preserve its sovereignty, its identity as a people, its economy, its society, and its democracy. South Koreans must be very careful. Well, okay, on the surface, China might look okay, just like any other developed country in East Asia, like Korea or Japan, but this is really skin deep. It's a very dangerous development, and it's a sign of, I would say, immaturity on the part of young people who don't understand what's going on. But let me not blame it only on the young people of South Korea who fall for this. Let me blame it on the unions, the very far left-leaning teachers' unions that have been controlling textbooks, that don't teach these kids history properly, the history of the Korean War, the history of the two Koreas. Do they tell them about the political prison camps that the Kim family regime has been running? Do they tell them about the crimes against humanity happening just a few kilometers up north? This is unbelievable. So Korea is a very old nation, 5,000 years. It's a nation with an amazing culture, history, and civilization. It is an abomination that 25 million Koreans live under the yoke of this awful regime, and they have lived under this awful regime for 3 generations. These are brothers and sisters of the Koreans living in the South, and China is a culprit. China is fully culpable for this division. China is fully culpable, for example, for forcibly repatriating North Korean refugees to conditions of danger, to a place where they face a credible fear of persecution. This is a blatant and direct violation of the 1951 UN Refugee Convention. China is a party to that. They claim they're illegal economic migrants. It doesn't matter why they left. They face a credible fear of persecution. They merit protection as refugees. And there are so many other examples. South Korea is very, very different from China. And that's why China is trying to undermine and subvert South Korea. Democratic, prosperous economic powerhouse, staunch ally of the United States.
I don't think people would have been this pro-China unless China would have been an economic power. Now their GDP number one, like 18%. Some studies had shown 19 to 20% of the entire GDP. I think the United States stands at like 25%. Do you think America bears some responsibility of these left-wing people coming out of the woodwork? For instance, when America allowed China to join the WTO, and they have been eating a lot of America's lunch. You know, the manufacturing went over to China, and a lot of South Koreans, they saw China's economic growth. And if you see these kind of economic growth, automatically, not me, but many in the population would gravitate towards it. And what's your thought on that?
Let me oversimplify my answer.
Yeah.
Indeed, the hope was that if China joins the World Trade Organization, the WTO, everybody will make money, everybody will grow, they will go by the rules, everything is going to be great. No, China just took the benefits of WTO membership and did not abide by its obligations. And this is a Chinese pattern throughout international organizations. They pick and choose in a variety of fields. If they don't agree with the terms, they simply do not abide by the terms, and that's how we got where we are right now, most unfortunately.
Like for instance, like currency manipulation, and even the way they rig the game. They want their patents, to reveal to their companies as well.
Absolutely, this is huge, and this can be a very, very long conversation.
Yeah.
I used to work in the developing world, in Africa, in South Asia. For example, in many African countries, you have villages that depend on the souvenirs they make. Handcraft stuff, they get by. The Chinese come in, they start making the same stuff, they dump it on the market, they sell it at low prices. These communities are obliterated. Chinese investment in infrastructure in the developing world, they don't hire locals. They don't create jobs, they bring in their own people. So this is a very toxic model. Unfortunately, it's a toxic model that is favored by the corrupt elites in the third world, because there's a lot of money for them in this. A lot of corruption, lack of transparency involved.
So I have talked with some communist people, second generation, who somehow believe that North Korea should have took over, that the unification wise, that views South Korea being one of the what sort of called like American imperialism. They're just following that pathway, and I think these people don't understand the heinous crimes against humanity. You're an expert about that. I think people are not well educated about this. The three Kim dynasties that went from Kim Il Sung, Kim Jong Il, and Kim Jong Un. Can you tell our audience about the heinous acts they have committed against crime against humanity?
This regime has ruled North Korea with an iron fist through an unbelievable level of ideological indoctrination. Number one, day in and day out, once a week, you have to do at least once a week, depending on your job. You have to do your senghwa, tonghwa, your self-criticism. You pick on others, others pick on you. That's one layer. There has also been an unprecedented level of coercion, control, surveillance, and punishment. Unprecedented in the modern world. Today, as we speak, here in Washington, there are 200,000 men, women, and children being held at the Kwalliso political prison camps. Why 3 generations? Because they apply a system of guilt by association called Yonjaje. Up to 3 generations of the same family are punished.
The sin is inherited, right?
Inherited. There are many, many other types of detention facilities, and political prisoners, for example, those repatriated from China, are imprisoned at these facilities. The Kyohaso, re-education for labor camps, short-term police detention facilities, Chikyoso, mobile labor brigades, Nodong Talyonde. The whole place is a prison. It's incredible. In the 1990s, up to 3 million people died of hunger and malnutrition-induced disease, while the regime was spending money. Konane-hengun, the arduous march, as they called it. The regime was spending money on purchasing MiG fighters from Central Asian republics. As foreign aid began coming in, they used it as a tool to adjust the balance of payments. They stopped importing food, relied on aid only, directed aid only towards those people who were deemed as essential in preserving the regime. Others were left to die. So people live in a world absolutely dominated by terror, fear, brainwashing, indoctrination. In many ways, they're people very similar to us. They have families, they love their spouses, they love their children, they love their parents, but they live inside this prison that is North Korea. The level of abuse in North Korea, the crimes against humanity, the other human rights abuses are truly unprecedented in the modern world. Of course, there have been genocides in Cambodia, in the former Yugoslavia, in Rwanda. There is a slow motion Holocaust going on in North Korea. It's been going on for decades. So the violations are unbelievable. What would have happened if Kim Il-sung had taken over? There would have been no Samsung, no Hyundai, no LG, no BTS, no K-pop, no K-drama, no Squid Games. Very, very dark world.
No Parasite movie,
no
getting
Parasite.
Academy Award, Best Picture, Best Director.
You know, South Korea is more than just a great economy.
Yeah.
You know, BTS has
It's amazing.
200 million fans around the world.
It's amazing, yeah.
It's not a band. It's a global cultural phenomenon. So South Korea has made the world a brighter place. The world would be a much darker place right now if Kim Il-sung had taken over South Korea.
So if you look at Korean politics right now, South Korean politics, you have the People Power Party, the conservative party with President Yoon being pro-America and pro-America, Japan, Korea alliance.
Yes.
And you have the Democratic Party leader, Lee Jae-myung, who sounds very pro-North. And even the accusations against him is he's being tried in court that he sent $8 million to North Korea. And I think the general tone in the Democratic Party in Korea seems to be very pro-North. And they even condemn people, the defectors. Some in the Democratic Party condemn them and criticize them. How dare you betray your own country in the North? I bet you heard about these kind of stories as well. So, and even including former President Moon Jae-in, he sent a defector right back to North Korea, as you might already know, that he got the death penalty. What do you think is going on in the Democratic Party in South Korea? Are they being compromised by by the North Korean government or by China? What is your assessment on this?
They're compromised by the North Korean government. They're compromised by China, and they're compromised by their own ideas and beliefs. Some of them are unreformed, very far left-leaning members of the former 386 student movement in South Korea. Okay, so you had the PD line, you had the NL line, right? The PD line was all about the proletariat against the exploiters. Okay, the Cold War came to an end. Everybody kind of realized, come on, that's not what it is about. So the PD kind of subsided. The NL is still around today. You know, many of them look like reformed politicians, truly democratic. Not so much so, not so fast. So I think that what happened during the Moon Jae-in presidency was outrageous.
It's outrageous, yeah.
They sent those two fishermen back to North Korea with no investigation. Those two poor souls were tortured and killed. What is this, China, communist China? I mean, we used to basically criticize China all the time for doing this. How can South Korea forcibly repatriate two citizens of the Republic of Korea? Does the constitution of the ROK still matter? They're citizens of the ROK. They were, according to the
automatically, they're supposed to be citizens of ROK. So it's like Moon Jae-in kicked them out to North Korea to face a death penalty.
This is criminal. And of course,
isn't he supposed to be tried in the international court? And didn't he violate American?
There is no need for an international court. You must exhaust domestic remedies first. If a domestic court is not available, then you go to an international court. There was a ruling just a few days ago, right? 4 government officials suspended sentences based on the Nuremberg principles. Responsibility goes all the way up the chain of command, all the way up to the top person. It's as simple as that. I have colleagues in the human rights community, North Korean human rights defenders. Their offices were raided. Their laptops were confiscated. North Korean defectors had a lot of trouble. And the whole rhetoric was so anti-North Korean human rights. You know, I hear this all the time. Michael Kirby, the former chief commissioner of the UN Commission of Inquiry, used to tell me, Greg, where are the progressives? Give me the progressives. I say, Michael, they don't even recognize your mandate or the UN COI. I cannot, I'm trying. I would welcome dialogue with South Korean progress. Many of them are my school seniors. I know many of them. I really hope that this issue of North Korean human rights becomes a bipartisan issue. The pendulum cannot swing so wildly. Let's make it an issue such as utilities or national defense. It doesn't change, right, with the governments. It should be constant, both the left and the right. Both progressives and conservatives, people on the left, people on the right should regard this issue as an absolutely essential issue. That is not the case. I hear this all the time. Americans are outraged. Oh, how can this be? You know, these people used to be democracy fighters. Why don't they believe in North Korean human rights? This is unbelievable. I say, well, one thing you don't understand is that many of the people who reject the North Korean human rights movement actually believe that, hey, look at Vietnam. They're unified and they're doing okay economically. I really think that deep inside, they think that unification should mean bringing North Korea a little bit to the right and bringing South Korea to the left and meeting in the middle. I really think that deep inside that's what's going on. I'm speaking freely right now, so sure. It's just a conversation with a friend.
Do you see reunification a possibility? Because to be honest with you, I don't see it coming anytime soon. That's my honest opinion. It has been for the past, for decades.
Michael, I speak to a lot of young Korean audiences in South Korea, and I tell them one thing. I understand. You have a lot of problems. This is a wonderful country. It's a highly civilized country, a very modern country. I know life is not easy. It's very competitive. You have to put yourself in good schools, good colleges, get good jobs, make money. You're under pressure. But you know what? Korea has a history of 5,000 years. Prior to the division of the two Koreas in 1945, well, de facto, de jure in 1948, Koreans shared the same culture, same civilization, same language, same history, and most importantly, lived together under the same political system for 1,000 years. 1 millennium. That's a very big deal, 1,000 years, right? Where were European countries 1,000 years ago? So what I tell them is that as difficult as it might be, Korean unification is not a matter of choice. It's a matter of destiny.
It's destiny.
One generation.
So it will happen.
Destiny, yes. 운명.
Okay.
운명에 달린 이슈죠.
Yeah.
So, there was a great generation that defended the Republic of Korea. They died on the battlefield in the war. There was a great generation that created the Han River miracle. I'll say there was a great generation that democratized South Korea. So, through sacrifice, South Korea is in the place where it is today. Perhaps, I asked them, in my case, what were my challenges? Well, my big moments, the fall of the Berlin Wall, the fall of the Ceausescu regime. I was in Eastern Europe, I was in the streets. 1997-98, the Asian financial crisis, I was in Korea.
IMF.
9/11, I was in grad school, I was in Boston.
You were always when the events were happening.
Somehow, right. So, what is their challenge? I really think that their challenge is going to be unification. What happens? Because, these regimes, they seem to be infallible. They seem to be eternal. And one night they fall. What do? I know we've been planning for this for a long time, but are we really ready?
Because one thing I'm a little bit skeptical is with Germany, East Germany was probably one of the richest communist countries, and so that's why I think it was possible. But North Korea is kind of far off from that, so that's why I feel the gap is wider. Do you agree with that between West Germany and East Germany? And so if you compare that picture with South Korea and North Korea, I think the gap is wider, the culture is wider. It's like they're almost almost like a completely two different countries at this point.
That is a valid observation, that the two Germanys were closer together economically. I also think that South Korean scholars have obsessed with German unification, and that's why there has been so much focus on the cost of Korean unification, which is going to be very high. But there are also a lot of benefits of Korean unification. Remember, North Korea has to be developed from the ground up. I'm not talking only infrastructure.
Yeah.
I'm talking the school system, the health system, behavior change campaigns, everything. That's a lot of work.
Yeah,
That's a lot of money, and it's a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
It's a lot of jobs for both South and North Koreans. Most important, yes, the economy is important. Mentality is important. Yeah, these are two different ideologies. Things have kind of diverged. Nevertheless, the same people, no
Right,
doubt
yeah.
about it. Of course, it's an economic union. It's a territorial union. Most importantly, it's a union of the people. So I really think that's what should come first, the unification of the people. You know, I'm originally from Romania. There was a unification in 1859 between Moldova and Wallachia, and then there was a second unification in 1918 with Transylvania after Romania won in the First World War. The unification of 1859, the 24th of January, was accomplished by a generation of men and women, young intellectuals who had studied in the West, France, Germany. They 1848 revolutionaries, basically. They made a very persuasive argument in favor of union, of unification, and the ordinary people. Your peasants, your agricultural workers, they bought into this. They understood. Unification of the people, that is most important. Of course, there are difficulties, in particular economic difficulties, but if the two Koreas are unified, those economic difficulties will no longer matter 100 or 200 years from now. Koreans like to say this, right? Talking about their families and their children.
Yeah.
I am nothing but a stepping stone.
Yeah. So even though it sounds daunting and a lot of heavy lifting going on, probably on both sides, it's possible, you know. Yeah.
And how beautiful would it be?
It would be great. It would be
How
great.
beautiful would it be?
There would be a lot of taxing for the South Korea, I guess.
Yes, and how well, but others would help.
Yeah. We need other nations' help too.
Japan, the United States, Europe. I mean, of course, USAID, the U.S. development industry is going through some drastic changes right now. But U.S. development assistance is not going to disappear. It's going to be mean, lean, effective. It's still going to be around. And Korea is a prime example. The Marshall Plan rebuilt Western European countries out of the ashes of the Second World War. Japan was rebuilt. South Korea was rebuilt. We can do it again. No doubt about
You
it.
talked about USAID. Do you know that USAID had funded an election body called AWEB in South Korea? I'm wondering whether you know about this. Or
I have heard about it, so please tell me about it more.
I mean, I was about to ask you if I think. So it's just speculation so far, but I think a lot of voter fraud probably might have happened because with a USAID money, but there has not been concrete evidence so far yet. So we can probably talk about this a little bit in detail down the road.
Down the road, perhaps, yeah, since we don't know any details,
exactly.
we shouldn't misspeak.
So I think you touched upon something very important because a lot of I have a YouTube channel and a lot of my viewers are coming from South Korea and also here, and many of them are conservatives because I'm a conservative commentator by default. You know, I try to play fair, but automatically I became more conservative by a lot of people on the mainstream view. So a lot of Koreans want Lee Jae-myung, Democratic Party leaders, Lee Jae-myung, be tried in international court, but you said that he has to be tried within the domestically first. Can you tell more in detail why that is? Because a lot of Koreans are saying, we want America to get in. We want America to jail Lee Jae-myung. Some people have an extreme view. We want him to be tried internationally, like even including Moon Jae-in. But can you talk about the logistics regarding that?
Yes, so it is, I would say, a fundamental principle of international criminal law that you go to an international court only if domestic remedies are not available. So let's say there has been a civil war, the country is in disarray, or you cannot trust the local courts. That's why you saw, for example, the Serbian leaders culpable for the genocide in Bosnia, for example, Slobodan Milosevic Radovan Karadzic, Ratko Mladic. So basically, Milosevic was sent to The Hague. He was the first European leader to be sentenced by The Hague. But South Korea is a functioning democracy, of course. South Korea is a legal system that's fully reliable. So the first thing that's needed is exhaustion of domestic remedies. Then you can go to an international court, but which court would that be?
So you're saying that that's pretty much, the possibility of that is pretty much nil, right? It might have to be decided within domestically in South Korea, right?
I would. At this stage, it's a very remote possibility, to say the least. Yes.
So you have this special love towards South Korea. South Korea is going through some turmoil right now with the impeachment of President Yoon. The Constitutional Court might come to a decision come early March or mid-March. What do you think about this whole impeachment saga, and what's your prediction of it?
What President Yoon did, I'm fully aware of the story. I know why he did it. It had to do with, election interference and that kind of thing.
He wanted to uncover voter fraud.
Uncover voter fraud, basically. So, okay, I see. South Korea is the world's 10th, 11th, 12th largest economy, very modern, very developed. Yeah, it's kind of surprising and shocking to see martial law in South Korea. I think everybody was taken by surprise. Well, what happened? 190 members out of 300 members of the National Assembly voted to take down the martial law.
Yeah.
What did President Yoon do?
He
complied.
Yeah, he complied. Within 6 hours.
Within 6 hours. So, was there a rebellion? No, absolutely not. I really don't see the rebellion. Of course, any issue is not only defined by the legal aspects. Any legal issue is legal, moral, ethical, and political.
Yeah, you're
In
right.
President Yoon's case, the political factor weighs really heavily,
Yeah.
I think. If you ask me, do you think it was a rebellion? I would say no. Was this awkward? Was it politically unwise? I would say yes. It was probably politically unwise. It was not properly calculated. But does he deserve to be impeached? Well, okay, it's not up to me to judge, but I don't really see the rebellion there, quite frankly.
I think he probably had no choice. That's what I thought, with President Yoon. But I think the term martial law itself, that conjures a lot of emotions.
Given the history of Korea, indeed, it stirs up a lot of emotion. And I'm sorry, I should have said every legal issue is legal, ethical, moral, political, and emotional.
Okay.
So the political and emotional factor here are quite important, I think.
Do you think Trump would meet with Kim Jong-un one more time during his second term and broker some kind of deal and try to help out North Korea's human rights issue as well?
I am not part of the Trump administration. I don't work for the government. It's my opinion as an outsider, as a regular American voter. I think that to President Trump, North Korea is unfinished business. I am not sure that he will have another summit meeting, but I think that he will attempt to engage North Korea. You look at the senior officials in charge. Ambassador Grenell is a very highly seasoned diplomat, a very refined diplomat, with a direct line to President Trump. Remember, during the fires in California, the First Lady, Melania Trump, was sitting on one side and Ambassador Grenell on the other side. That's how close he is.
Yeah.
So diplomatically, this is a signal that was sent to North Korea. A very senior, highly seasoned diplomat, former ambassador to Germany, former deputy director of the CIA, who has a very direct and immediate line of communication with the president, has been put in charge of these difficult countries as special envoy. This is an open door. I think that the ball is in Kim Jong-un's court, and the administration has also made it clear. We have not abandoned FFVD, full, final, verifiable denuclearization of the North Korea. President Trump is a very tough negotiator. He will not give up his fundamental strategic objectives. The short answer to your question is yes, I think there will be engagement during Trump 47, perhaps even a summit meeting. We will see.
Can you any last words you want to tell to our audience, and where can our audience see your work?
Please visit hrnk.org. hrnk.org. All of our reports are posted on our website. If you're a student of Korean studies, North Korean human rights, North Korean regime studies, please visit our website. Of course, it goes without saying, after having some support under the Obama administration, and especially the Trump 45 administration, the Biden administration defunded us, defunded our satellite imagery analysis program. So we have depended on generous donors where, if I may, exclusively privately funded. Anything you can do to help us, help our mission, what we do is what Kim Jong-un fears the most. We find out and tell the truth about North Korea. We tell the truth about the crimes of the Kim family regime. Thank you for being by our side. We stand together, we fight together, we win together. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you very much, Greg. You're doing such a great job. It was an honor interviewing you.
Thank you, sir.